One of the things that I've been working on, as I've reported to you over the last few years, is our work with the checkered copper butterfly, the Lucia limbara. And from the first discovery of the Lucia limbara, or rediscovery in Victoria Park by Janet Subagio, and the work that we did with the City of Adelaide, we've come a long way in monitoring that and a long way in awareness about the checkered copper. And I'm very pleased to introduce Rosina Possingham, who is an artist that we're collaborating with on the latest iteration of promotion about the checkered copper and a project we call Herding Caterpillars. So we've got a little presentation to show you. Some of you may be aware that we did a pitch to the City of Adelaide to seek some funding, and blow me down, we got it first time. It was just pretty amazing. So we want to take you through that pitch and show you why they were just absolutely amazed by our enthusiasm and passion and all the rest that we demonstrate.
And then we've got some sneaky kind of work in progress behind the scenes photos to share at the end, because I couldn't help but put those in.
So we're going to be talking about some technical things which some of you would be aware of, including augmented reality and virtual reality. And the way I understand augmented reality is that it's an interactive experience with objects in the real world with additional computer-generated content. And virtual reality, which is the main focus of our project, is an artificial environment that we get created by software to enable the user to immerse themselves in that world that is being created. So we're going to talk you through that.
I might explain those in real layman's terms of, you know, here's the table, I download an app and I have an augmented reality experience that I can see. This is a real world object and it is seen expanding or in there, but only on my screen I can see it. And for the VR, virtual reality, we're fully in an immersive virtual world. So that's how I'm kind of navigating the differences between those two. And they're both encompassed under a word called XR, extended reality.
So we as collaborators, so we're talking about science and education and art and technology, collaborating, coming up with ideas, not quite exactly what the reality is. After all, the checkered copper butterfly is only 25 millimeters in size, caterpillar's only 18 millimeters in length, and the ant that has the mutual symbiosis is only 3 millimeters. So it's hard for us humans to actually get a grip on that. And so that's why we decided to go big. So this is the sort of pitch that we put to quite a large assessment panel from the City of Adelaide and the Department of Innovation Skills, some artists as well. And we thoroughly enjoyed giving that presentation.
And yeah, I guess we're telling the whole story from where Jerry and I met and where this kind of play formed up to where we are now.
So the idea for herding caterpillars in 3D came from the marvellous photography that Greg Coote particularly shot in Victoria Park. The close-ups we were able to get, the way we were able to really see the intricacies and interactions in this incredible biodiversity. And from that idea, Jackie Hunter and I put together and wrote a script for a play. And that play we performed at the Parklands project in Park 17, which is next to Victoria Park. And Rosina was there because she was a fellow artist also doing artwork in that park.
Yeah. And then during that Parklands project, I started kind of becoming obsessed with this Park 6 site, Nantuwama, the horse parkland in North Adelaide. And I started kind of scanning trees to look at them. And this opened this whole new window of looking at 3D modeling and how could I hang my art in the trees? And, or what if I scanned the patch of trees? And then I asked Flinders to give me an artist in residence. And their artist in residency was specifically aimed at this motion capture studio called The Void. And during my residency, or before I started it, there was the kind of summer break. They had given me a shorter residency. I didn't win the big one. I got a smaller one to kind of flesh out my concept a bit more. So I was going to be given 4 weeks in The Void. And I had kind of just realized that I really needed to capitalize on the motion capture element that this studio was offering. So it's the biggest motion capture studio in the whole of the Southern Hemisphere, still currently. Melbourne doesn't have one yet, they're building one. And they just so happened to have 5 suits in motion capture. What's that?
It's all right.
There's 5 suits in the Void, and there was 5 actors in this play. So I contacted both Jackie and Jerry, and I said, would it be okay for me to reimagine this project, but in the virtual world? And they both jumped on board, and I contacted the actors as well and re-invited them. And during the process of that kind of residency, I was able to flesh out just how big the project was, and possibly maybe I can't learn how to 3D model in a few weeks. That might be a whole degree.
One of the amazing things is that as we've been doing this and gradually building and working off the networking that we have, is Adelaide is an amazing place. You live here, you know how amazing it is to live here. Well, start networking and going out and finding these incredible people. You know, we have, like Rosina said, at Flinders Uni, this world stage, this 3D motion capture lab that is just, everyone is dying to get there at $3,000 a day. No, it's just absolutely incredible.
They said our final recording day, where we recorded most of the play a couple of weeks ago on the Friday, was possibly worth a 50K day with all the specialists that were in that room. And if they wanted to hire that place out, it would be about 3, but if you're overseas, 5 to 10. We have to call it 3 here because no one understands how big a production studio it is, and just no one has the funds to pay for that. So, but they offer it, and they've partnered with us on this project. So after I finished my residency, they partnered with us as a key partner to work on this project with us and help us to navigate, well, you know, what happens when we have a tail of the back of the ant and they're going to hit next to each other. And there's just been so much problem solving in this entire project. So I guess we got this opportunity to pitch for Adelaide Createch because it was creative and innovative, new IP and new storytelling. And through that process, Jerry and I had these different contacts. So Jerry got in contact with SA Museum, and because we'd landed SA Museum, I went up to CDW Animation and said, would you like to partner on this project? And they work closely with Flinders University, and they're a massive, big animation studio led by James Marshall, and they have concept artists, animators, modelers and riggers. And James just so happens to specialise in video effects, video games and VR development. I didn't know that before I'd even set up the meeting. And so everything just kept on falling into place, and everyone was really keen to come on board with this project because it is so local and about this scale of this size of this butterfly and us blowing it up to this human scale. And through that, we managed to connect with, obviously, Jerry and I pitched this with our animation studio team, CDW Animation. Flinders University supplied all of the motion capture. Our developers, Beer Labs, Damien has come on board as a project partner. Nature Festival, we planned to develop this and deploy it then, because that's when the first flight of the butterflies is.
Yeah, in October.
That just happened. And then Chris Daniels got us, had the idea of putting it at Mod, and I work for Mod, I do the design work for them. So I decided that that would be a fabulous place to have another component of this project.
So Mod is Museum of Design at
Discovery.
Museum of Discovery.
Yep.
So there's lots of design in there too, isn't there?
Yeah, and it's kind of a futuristic science art gallery looking to the future.
Mm.
Yep.
Mm. Yeah. So that's at Uni SA on North Terrace.
So we've got all of these leading specialists, and then we've got all of these super individual freelancers, like our actors and our voiceover narration artist. She's an actor from Interstate. And then Jesse Brudell, who's a sound designer, and he actually specializes in field recordings in nature. And we're trying to keep this a really nature-driven, artistic project, rather than it being all just pressing buttons of sound effects. So that's our Jerry and I's vision for the project.
So one of the critical things that the grant was about was they want to attract people back into the city of Adelaide. You know, it's been 2 really hard years for people. So how do we get people in? You can either have a V8 Supercars event, or you can have creative events and technology and those sorts of things. And so when we pitched this, they were just absolutely amazed that here you have this biodiversity in the middle of the city that is not known by very many people. And yet they were doing lots of work in Victoria Park with the redevelopment over the last 10 years, and then the big wetland that's just been put in place. And because of the discovery of the Chequered copper, we influenced that wetland, its orientation and those sorts of things. So the council is very aware of how important biodiversity is, and hence Green Adelaide. And as soon as we were able to say Green Adelaide were on board, because we're the second national park city, wow, they said all these things are joining together and really linking people.
And I had created an augmented reality, an AR filter, as part of the parklands, and it went off. It was on Instagram, and it reacted to a big painting, and it showed all of the species of these gum trees spinning, and people could see that, scan it with their phone. And with that, it kind of made me consider, okay, if I'm creating a VR presentation of this performance, I think that that's very single-minded and only using one view of sharing this whole story and experience. And it is very closed in that you have to come to that day where this VR presentation will be. So we kind of came up with this other idea of having an AR experience that could be on at all hours of the day. You pretty much walk up to this trigger, which will be a box, and you download the Herding Caterpillars app, and through there you can see some form of the mutual symbiosis, and this will hopefully attract you enough to think, wow, isn't that cool? I better go look at the VR experience. So we're kind of using these augmented reality triggers, and then we're placing big sculptures and commissioning artists next to them to get you as an advertising piece to come see the full VR experience.
And this happens during Nature Festival. So it's not lost on the festival that this is a really significant thing, and they've actually taken us as one of their lead activities in the festival. So one of our triggers, AR triggers, will be on the lawns of the SA Museum. So there was another synergy. You know, we'd already got the director to connect with us, and the Nature Festival were also connecting with the museum.
So the Nature Festival have their hub out the front of the SA Museum, and they'll have volunteers running and activating that space already, and you'll be able to be directed, you know, straight from that hub to the State Library Institute building, where we'll be running this experience for 2 days only. So it's a bit of an example of kind of the trigger. I didn't want to give too much away. And us commissioning an artist. I guess I could probably give that one away. This is an indicative example of a sculpture. We'll be commissioning a large caterpillar from Will's projects, which is Laura Wills and Will Cheeseman. And Laura worked really closely with Jerry on the Parklands project previously. So she's already done all of the research and development and knows fully about the checkered copper and has created a whole body of artwork about it. So was really excited to be able to come on board and create a sculptural work. More about the VR. I think we can skip through that. I think
no worries. Let's go.
This was the early development and where I was going to be without the animation studio. And these are some of the concept art. So there'll be the 3D model created, which you can see at the end. And this concept art will be kind of the textural color that will be wrapped on that model. So this is the checkered copper butterfly. Then we have the caterpillar growing through stages. So we've had to, tell this in a shorter story. We kind of have 3 stages of growth, maybe 4. And this is the sleeping bag chrysalis, which we love. All about that one. And this is the boy. This is our fabulous team. So we've got Curtis Shipley and Steph Daughtry, and then our 3
young actors.
Our 3 young actors, Estelle, India, and Phoebe. And in the background, you can see their models. So when they were walking, they had these noodle bums, and the noodle bums were representing the back of the ant. And that was very, very important, because if they had touched each other where that bum wasn't, that was, each time that happened, a week of animation of cleanup. So that's to try and explain the scope of this animation project. Yep. This is our mock-up of our oxalis plant when we hand the leaf to the caterpillar. Next one. This is some of our team of expert techs behind it. So when they get put into motion capture suits, they have to put all of these dots on, and the dots all join together to create a rig of bones. And then the bones go inside the 3D models to drive the 3D models. And these suits only a few years ago used to take 5 to 6 hours to work, to like actually activate and get the trigonometry to work within the bones. And now they've got them down to 1 hour or half an hour to get each of our actors in the suit. So this still takes about 20 minutes to an hour to get them, and they have to do a series of warm-ups to activate all of those little dots. And then we have these cameras in the background up the top. They're the motion capture cameras. And here's a bit of an example of us trying to connect models that were different sizes and be able to pass glasses. So because the models were scaled, the actors weren't their real size. So when you looked at the caterpillar, you actually had to look at her belly, and then you would be looking at the caterpillar's eyes. So there was a lot of reacting of the whole performance to that. And this is the first time we looked at, so these are the 3 different sizes of the caterpillar that she acts in. So that's her tail, and that was very important. That meant the actors had to act to that length of her, and they couldn't walk in that again. I think that might be it. That's us.
Yeah. So it's pretty exciting being involved in the development of this, incredible intellectual property that we're going to have, which is like a couple of years ago, we had the National Science webinar, and the world leader of lycaenid butterflies, Roger, forgotten his surname, Professor Kitching, said, wow, you've just done so much in researching the checkered copper. You're really learning about it. Well, we're taking that a little bit further, really challenging people to be involved, giving people the opportunity to actually break down the barriers between art, science, education, and
just
go next.
Complete new tech. This was the biggest output of recorded motion capture data that CDW have ever dealt with, and they're industry professionals, and it's just absolutely insane. Like, they normally wouldn't do it that way. They would probably choose to animate something like this, but we wanted to know that there was a real person in there. That was really important to us, to know when that person walks, that it's a real person acting that. So being able to readapt this real life play into VR, and you're able to walk in and you're led by these ants. I'm very excited to put my head into that. Yep.
So do you have any questions? We would love you to be involved in this. We will need volunteers to actually be part of the ushering people from
for the 2 days,
trigger points, trigger sites to the VR experience, and be able to actually get involved. So feel free to get in touch with myself, and we'll get that involved.
I'm also hoping that we'll be able to run on Friday the 14th before we open to the public, because I'm pretty sure the spots are going to book fast. I know some of your full-time work, it would be too hard to book off, but I'm hoping we have a bit of a specialist preview on the Friday the 14th.
Of October.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. That'll work. Yeah, so we'll do some promotion in the August newsletter. Any questions? Over the top? No?
Anyone want clarification on any part?
Great.
Cool.
Yeah, Kathleen. So one of our trigger sites is going to be in Park 16, not far from the grassland site. All of the trigger sculptures will have information about the real life butterfly mutual symbiosis.
We're going to create a whole website about the project, which will share the AR info about the sculptures, info about the making of the VR, and also about the full mutual symbiosis of the checkered copper, as well as this will connect to the live events that will be running across Nature Festival, which will feature some with scientists running an event where you can come and see the first flight as well.
Yeah. So
hopefully you're going to get the full tech experience and the full head down in the dirt experience. The sculptures are only temporary. I'm aiming to have them up for the 10-day period. The 6th to the 16th of October is the Nature Festival. But everything for us leads up to that final weekend of the school holidays, the 15th and the 16th of October. That's our really big go-get-em day for VR. But we're hoping during that time it will lead people to see the VR experience. I'll get back to you on that. Check them out, CDW Animation Studio. Yep.
Yeah. I don't know whether anyone saw the film Mortal Kombat, but they did all the animation in Mortal Kombat.
One of the workers did, yeah, for that. Yeah.
Amazing. Okay.
They're kind of like, they'll be, as big as Rising Sun soon. Adelaide City Council, Adelaide Createch funding, and it covers all of these components. So we're commissioning artists to make sculptures, we're printing AR triggers, we're having to hire headsets, we have to deploy the event, we've got to pay for the creation, all the individual freelancers.
Yeah. So that's in-kind contribution. So, we might be paying CDW $10,000, but they're giving us $100,000 worth of, yeah. Okay.
So it's the in-kinds that's making it work. Right now, Derry and I have just been doing this for months, just because we want.
No. So we will maximise our exposure. We will make a contribution at some stage, hopefully with merchandise or something like that.
It'd be awesome to have everyone that volunteers to be able to get a t-shirt. We'll see if we can convince Green Adelaide if I do some really cool t-shirt designs. But I think that will make it feel like a better project and more official, and it will help the general public to be able to navigate that experience as best as possible. I'm hoping it's going to be mostly staffed by volunteers, so a combination of anyone that's keen here and also tech experts. So some of the virtual reality students at Uni Adelaide that want to make experiences like this. So both of these, might not have experience in working with the general public, or especially not running VR events. So we'll just need to figure that out as we're going.
What's the running time of the app?
Well, we just did an edit, and look, I'm going to say 6 minutes we're currently sitting at. We're hoping for 5 to 6 minutes. But that doesn't include a possible opening
a Ghana
welcome, as well as there will be a tutorial where it asks you to walk in VR, and that's where you decide whether you're capable of doing the walking VR or you need to have the seated performance. So there'll be accessibility requirements. Maybe that makes you feel sick. Maybe you need to do the seating option. So there's a few different options in the VR itself as well. That might take 15 to 20 seconds. So let's say under 8 minutes.
So the sessions are going to be in the virtual room, are they?
Yes, they are.
What, every 15 minutes?
That's loosely what we have.
It's
going to be loosely 15 minutes. I'm meeting tomorrow morning with Patrick, who is the public programs coordinator, and we're discussing whether we might be able to take over a little bit more space. But I really wanted this to be front and central in a free building like the State Library. So it's the perfect spot. They're hoping to have a lot more public programs there.
I've done it before, but they've had queues out there, people waiting for an hour to get in, or whatever, or you're booking.
Yeah, the booking system will all go through Nature Festival, and a lot of this will all be pre-booked, and then we're going to have to come up with some system on the ground where if someone doesn't rock up 15 minutes prior, they just lose their spot and it goes to a walking person, because we need these places filled. We want to be able to share this story with as many people as possible. But look, if it's fully booked out, maybe we try and run another one. I think it's amazing enough for us to even get the opportunity to share it. That's my...
Yes, Alan?
Who knows? We're going to make it first. Maybe we'll go on to it. Yeah, we just have to make it first. So that's my goal.
Honestly, Alan, we are talking about preserving the IP to make sure it is available and potentially it could be commercially available. So it's something to consider. But at the moment, on such a small budget, we're just focusing on let's do it right and really make sure that we can do ourselves proud. Because what the critical element for these grants is to have local people employed, have local experiences, get people into Adelaide, understanding the opportunities that are in Adelaide. And that's why I made that comment earlier about, oh my goodness, we are so creative in Adelaide. There are so many wonderful experts who we can tap into. And we've seen that over our 12 years of doing public talks, how many wonderful experts there are in all sorts of fields in Adelaide. And we want to capture that.
Also, that's why it might be pretty important that if, you're kind of getting secret VIP Butterfly Squad entry, if you're keen, maybe we'll try and book a lot of people that could be free to come on the Friday so that we open as many spots for the general public as possible on the Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah.
I think that will save us a lot of time. Even just going through a group like this size would maybe take a couple of hours out of the general public viewing. So
anyway, I must cut us off here, Rosina. I know how passionate you and I are about this. So we hope that you can see that this is going to be a wonderful thing for us as an association, but as us as Adelaide. So we hope you'll be involved.